Thank you for joining me for another Quick Hits conversation. I'm Dr. Robyn. With me today, I have Royce King, Sarah Oblick-Spiker, and Ashley Owens. The question I want to ask, where is the line between ambition and obsession, and who gets to decide that? Sarah, can you kick us off?
I love this question. It was actually something I was talking to my business partner about the other day. As we were kids, we had our own little obsessions. And we heard from our parents over and over and over again, it's like, it would be so great if you just weren't so obsessed with this thing or the other thing or whatever it was on our agenda for the time. But it got me thinking, as adults, who decides what obsession is? And is it really a bad thing to be obsessed with something? For me personally, I think the best way to describe this balancing act on my end is the energy. If something depletes me, then probably obsessing about it in a negative way. But if it gives me energy, and if it allows me to grow and expand and do more, become more, then what's wrong with that?
I think some of the best people I've ever met are the ones that are obsessed with something, whether it's knowledge, whether it's success, whether it's empathy, whether it's gratitude. They have a specific area that they just have a passion for. And so what we may think is obsession may just be an incredible passion that they are able to experience. And then we're also able to have the privilege of being around. When you talk about entrepreneurship, you've got to be a little crazy to be an entrepreneur, right? So you got to just be a little bit off, but in a good way, meaning that you have an obsession or you have a passion for something that is either greater than you or your mission is greater than just you in existence. And I think that is a lot to ask of somebody to understand why you do what you do, unless the other person has also experienced those same experiences, or at least something similar. The entrepreneurship community is so tight in certain areas and so competitive in others because of how everybody relates to their passions and how they execute on them. So I think obsession is just a fancy word, or just could be a negative tone for passionate.
Interesting. Okay. Royce, what do you think?
Well, I'll throw a wrench in it a little bit. Obsession to me is defined as compulsive or irrational behavior, whereas ambition is the pursuit of something meaningful to you. However, where I agree with Ashley is, as entrepreneurs, we do have to get a bit obsessed, right? We don't clock in at 9 and clock out at 5. We are obsessed with our business. And I work with a lot of startup founders who wouldn't get anywhere without some level of obsession. Just like Sarah said, I think it also depends on the energy or motivation behind it. Is it negative, destructive, and detrimental? Or is it a positive pursuit of something for the higher good? So I can see relevance in both of these ladies' answers, but also put a spin on it that sometimes obsession is irrational and compulsive.
In psychology, we talk about it kind of tips when you have something that is negatively affecting your life. But then the question becomes, well, who gets to decide if it's negatively affecting your life? Like if I'm, as an entrepreneur, really focused, getting things done, whatever, and I feel like it's all good, but my husband feels like, hey, you're missing from our life. Where are you? Is it negatively affecting my life? Is it obsessive or is it not? Who gets to decide?
I love this conversation also to take it further in who gets to decide, especially when it comes to women. Through history, we have been pathologized and judged and shunned and really burned alive for our passions and for pursuits. It's like a swampland out there when it comes to those words.
I think my tolerance for people who try to dim other people's passions or even just excitement, which is something that happens often as a woman, is that you can get excited about something, you can get very much into one thing or into many things, and it's looked at as, oh, how's your little job? Or how's your little career? It's like, oh, how's your little family? Like, how are you stressed out as much? So it becomes where, it's subjective. When you obsess, you become the thing that you enjoy the most. And people typically don't obsess over something they don't have an excitement for or don't have a like to. So I guess being a woman and always being told to shush or always being kind of overlooked or talked over or reduced to thinking that, my excitement over something is not that big of a deal. Yeah, if I'm obsessive, good. I'm kind of explaining why I like the thing that I like, and I don't need an explanation. So yeah, call me obsessive. That's fine.
Okay.
Like Ashley, I've been asked those questions before too, and they try to make you feel guilty about it.
Oh, yeah.
Ultimately in life, everything is a choice that we have. And when you feel guilty or take on the ownership of what others think you should think, that's when you become an imposter. And I know imposter syndrome is a hot topic these days, but unless we're true to ourselves and really answer to, does this align with my core values and my goals? We become the imposter by accepting the expectations of others and allowing them to decide if it's obsession or if it's ambition.
Mm-hmm.
At what point do you think that conversation needs to happen in an entrepreneur's life? Because, or excuse me, in a woman who is an entrepreneur, because that boundary in itself, or just saying no, is probably one of the hardest things. And I'm sure all of you have coached women just like that. That imposter syndrome creeps up, and they are more qualified than any person that I've ever met.
Yeah.
What point do you educate them in that? Like, when is a good time to start, in your opinion?
Well, personally, I have two takes on that. First is, you can be told as much as you want, unless you're ready to hear it, you won't. But that in the same time, the value of being modeled what is possible, we get to see that more and more. Like when we were kids or previous generation, there were not women in C-suites. There were not women business owners who were juggling so much that we do now, much less speaking out in a way that we do now with the amplification of the social media and everything else. But then on the other hand, I also, when it comes to imposter syndrome, and again, this passion versus obsession, I kind of see it through the lens of gaslighting. Not only being gaslit by others, but self-gaslighting. You're qualified, you're pushing yourself, you're ambitious, and now you're being gaslit. Oh no, you're toxic here, you're too much, and you have to smaller yourself. And now it's like this tug of war, push and pull, and it's affecting everything and everybody.
One of the most powerful questions that I ask women that are in that situation is, who gets to judge that and why? And eventually they'll come around to, well, I'm judging it. Okay. Why? Why is this important to you? Where is this coming from? Who said that to you? And that can be a really long journey, figuring out who am I allowing to judge me and why. It's a simple question, but man, can it be a difficult conversation.
I would agree, Robyn. It can be difficult and lengthy to dig deep.
But so the digging deep, I think everyone's capable of, right? Just changing their mindset. What I found, I've loved your ladies' opinion on this, is like, there are so many women that I coach that, 6 years ago, I was not this person. I was definitely not this person. But it wasn't until I got positively affirmed by going against what I was taught or against what I previously thought was an acceptable behavior did it just shift everything. It's like, until they receive, and to your point, Sarah, until they are ready to hear it, or until they're ready to receive the positive affirmation on the thing that they're going completely against the grain, they won't necessarily want to try to experience that because they're afraid of the negative reaction. Yep. And I think my turning point, and I'm sure it's a lot of women's turning points, is that at some point you're just like, okay, well, I tried everything else. Let's just bet on me and see what happens, because I did everything else I was supposed to do. I was supposed to check the boxes. And so then you do become obsessed with yourself, obsessed with your growth, and whether you know it or not. And I think the term obsession can, again, be subjective in certain ways, but I love Royce's definition of it's not bringing harm to others, and it's good obsession, just like all those professional athletes that are out there. But I think the point I'm trying to make is that in my case, unless someone gave me positive affirmation in doing the opposite of what I was told to do, then I never would have continued down the path of like, oh, what else can I do the complete opposite of what I was told to do, and see what the next step is.
That ability to have that growth mindset that says, I don't have to believe what I was told by whatever, the patriarchy, the culture, the what, fill in the blank. I can choose, I can make a different choice. And I think that for all of us is really hard. And I can, to the same point, Ashley, I can make delineation marks in my life where I made a choice where it's like, I'm not going to do it that way anymore because it's not working. So that is our 10 minutes. I want to thank you for having this conversation with me about being obsessed or having ambition. I think what we've decided is that we get to decide whether we're obsessed or not, and other people do not get to give us their opinions on that. So thank you so much. I look forward to speaking to each of you again really soon.